Sounds good.
Okay. Jitterbug. 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 Jitterbug.
Good morning, Wisconsin. This is Dr. Kristin Lyerly with Greg Bach on the board. We are Bach in the Dock, and we are so excited. It's Tuesday morning in February in Wisconsin. It's really cold, too. I don't know if you've looked at the temperatures, but I just peeked at the temperature in Hayward, and it's minus 20 air temperature.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's 19 down here in the southern region of Racine Radio Park.
Isn't that wild? That's a 40-degree difference from the
Yeah.
northern part of the state to the southern part of the state.
Yeah, every time Pat does the temperatures, we're always I would say usually the highest by a good degree. So there.
You're the hot spot, Greg.
Exactly.
That's what you
Exactly.
are. So I'm Dr. Kristin Lyerly. I have a regular guest here with Pat Kreitlow, but Pat's on vacation. I mean, talk about a hot spot. He has his toes in the sand.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
I know. I did on my weather app have a leftover city that I visited earlier this winter, and I accidentally glanced, and it's 78 degrees there.
Yeah.
This is the time. Take a vacation.
Oh, do it. I mean, honestly, I feel like, America, we could, the latter part of January, we could just shut down. Just shut it all down and be like, on vacation, just hang a sign at all the airports saying closed.
Hey, and
Come
there's
back in February.
Yes, there's something I think about being in Green Bay, maybe because we're such a football town that you wait until the Super Bowl is over, and then all of a sudden winter really sets in. So it's
because
really
there's
feeling
nothing to do. Yeah.
Right. Although, to be honest, it's starting to get lighter out. Sunset is after 5 o'clock now. We're having longer days. It should be getting warmer at some point. I mean, there's hope on the horizon.
We'll hold that hope for Brittany Merlot, who will tell us, because the most she'll tell us is 10 days ahead of time. After that, she's like, you're on your own. Fine. If you want to say on the 11th day, it's going to be 80 degrees, but I will not. I will not stamp that with my meteorology approval.
I do love Brittany's weather, and I love how she delivers it, because she's just got this, I could just listen to it. She could be telling me a story about, I don't know, toenail fungus, and I'd be like, oh.
Yes, indeed. You're right. If I keep picking at it, it won't go away. I love that she uses and since I've heard her for the first time, whenever it was like a year and a half ago, she's the only meteorologist I've ever heard use the word flirt in her forecast. We'll be flirting with some 30-degree weather. I'm like, yeah, we will. We'll be totally flirting.
That's the key. She's descriptive. Yeah. She uses really colorful words that light up your imagination. And we'll
give those warm temperatures some batty eyes.
All right, we do have Brittany later today in the next hour. And you know what? As I said earlier, we are Bach in the Dock. We've got another doc joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. I know.
Bach in the Docks?
Again.
Love it.
Just like yesterday.
Love it.
So this doc is a doctor of physical therapy.
Okay.
Colleen Nowak she's a Motherhood for Good ambassador. She is a candidate for De Pere School Board, and she's going to join us around 7:30 to share her really cool, inspirational story about citizen activism, how she just identified a problem and worked together with folks, and now here she is running for school board.
Fantastic. Love it. Love
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty cool. We've got other really good stuff coming up this week. We've got, well, I mean, just in a few minutes, Kate Duffy, talk about Motherhood for Good extravaganza. Kate's going to join us in our next segment to talk about postpartum Medicaid extension, which is getting a hearing tomorrow in the Senate. And this is cool. This is a real opportunity for us here in Wisconsin.
I mean, it's us in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a map that had all the states, and we had a light color. I can't remember what the light color was, but it showed that there were hearings, whereas Arkansas is just nothing's happening there.
Well, we actually passed an extension from 60 days. So we'll get into this in the next segment. But yeah, we actually passed an extension at one point that is sitting with the feds right now, but they want full extension in order to approve it. So it's this whole complex dance. But what we need to know is what Kate's going to share with us in the next segment.
Kate's always great on the show. Bringing the thunder, bringing the heat. If you don't already, follow Motherhood for Good on Instagram. Those are some great posts.
She and her group of moms are on fire, and they get it. They understand what's at stake right now. They are motivated. That, like me, you can't look your child in the eye knowing that the world is experiencing so much tumult. You can't just, let it happen. You got to be part of it.
And Alicia Saunders on the live stream says, wow, you have a bunch of my favorite ladies hanging out today.
Hey, good morning, Alicia. Alicia and I went to Kirkwani yesterday and spent some time in a listening session with some of our representatives.
Wow. Okay. Look at you just not stopping the work.
Oh, dude, we've got so much more to talk about. So let's talk more about what's happening the rest of the week.
Okay.
So tomorrow we've got Mark Becker coming in. He, of course, is the host of Civic Media's Rational Revolution. We're going to talk all morning with a focus on small business in the state. Michelle Tressler, the co-founder of Hinterland, is going to be joining us in the 6 o'clock hour. And then Andrea Fanta, the founder of Mommy AF. You've seen those stickers.
I've seen those stickers. And okay. When you see bumper stickers, sometimes you like to think, is this a political statement? What statement is? And I wasn't sure if Mommy AF was like keep your vaccinations and your public school away from my children.
Right.
Me too. Yeah. But now I know. I mean, it's and hey, it's just about being, as Mark Becker would say, rational. Good discussion.
Yes.
With bumper stickers, you're always like, what are you trying to tell me? With bumper, what are you trying to tell me with your bumper sticker? What are you trying to get me to vote for? It's usually
You're right. You're right. Well, and it's not just Mommy AF. There's Daddy AF and Grandpa AF, and there's a whole AF community out there. So we're going to talk
Is
with
there
Andrea
dog
about that.
Daddy AF?
If there's not.
Because I'm not a Faja.
We know who could make that sticker for you and start that movement. Oh my gosh. And then on Thursday is going to be so good. We're dedicating the whole day to women leaders in Wisconsin. Women Win Wisconsin. Renee Peplum from Kewanee is going to be joining me. We've got Senator Jody Hatter-Sinekin coming on, Representative Margaret Arney, and maybe a special guest or two will pop in.
What?
I know. We're going to, we're going to culminate on Thursday with this big show. And then I got to hand it back over to Todd on Friday.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. From my cold living hand, because it's just cold out. My cold. Yeah. No, Todd is going to be fun. I love working with Todd as well. You guys are great to work with in the morning. It's a lot of energy, a lot of good times, a lot of, just having great conversations. It's wonderful. So I'm happy to be on the ride.
Yeah. Well, Todd's a great guy. Speaking of cold though, let's run down some temperatures across the state.
Must we?
Yeah, I know. It's now 21 degrees below zero in Hayward.
Like just 21 below zero.
Yeah, that's what that little minus means, right? minus
Well, it's not the.
21.
I was thinking temperature versus wind chill.
Yeah, that's the air temperature.
Oh my god!
I know, Tony. If you're out there, bundle up, buddy. I know.
Everyone bundle up.
Yeah. Well, Amory. So I gave you the cold one. Amory's minus 13,
Okay.
and then Eau Claire minus 3. See, as we're getting further south, Wausau minus 1. Wisconsin Rapids is 2. We're in the positives there. La Crosse at 6 degrees. Milwaukee 17.
And here, a balmy 19 degrees. Oh, nope, 17 degrees and cloudy. Feels like this is the part I don't like. Your phone does this. It's 17 degrees and cloudy. Feels like 5. Oh.
Yeah. I don't want to know that.
Yeah, so. But you know what? We're pushing through. We're pushing through. We're almost at the middle of the month. We're making it through. And then it'll be March, and it's unpredictable. We'll have a day where it's nice and warm and rainy. Then the next day it will snow. We don't know. Then April will be fine.
And all of a sudden, the grass will be green. Boom.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in and joining in on Weather Talk this morning. Yeah, you're always welcome to join our spicy conversation at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. You can also use the Civic Media app or leave a comment on Civic Media's YouTube page. Hey, Greg, have you voted yet?
I have not. I was going to vote yesterday, and I totally blanked out. I'm going to either vote today or I'm going to vote tomorrow. But I'm going to vote early because it's very easy and very simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is. And we all have something on our spring primary ballot this year because the state superintendent of schools is up this year. So there's a choice to be made there, as well as there are lots of local municipalities that have other elections. I know here in Green Bay, we've got a school board election, just lots of other things going on. So if you want to know what's on your ballot, really easy, go to myvote.wi.gov. Everything you need to know is right there.
Wonderful. I love myvote.wi.gov. It's so simple. And you can also, if you can order early ballots. I don't think you can now because we're very close to the election, but you can order early ballots. You can track those ballots. You can do so much in that website. It is so functional. And one of the most important things you can do in that website is find who represents you, from your dog catcher to your president. And all of those have phone numbers. And we want you to contact them and tell them what you feel about the job they're doing, and always being respectful and nice.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the point of representative government, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So before we bust into our first break and then welcome Kate, I just wanted to do a quick rundown of sports because this is important stuff.
Yeah.
The Bucks played Golden State last night, and if I remember your prediction from yesterday, Golden State not doing so well. Steph Curry struggling. Yeah, he had a season high 38 points last night, and the Bucks lost 125-111.
You really took me on a ride there, Dr. Lyerly. I have no idea where you were going. And then you're like, nope, the Bucks are still. And the thing is like, oh, they're 5th. I'm like, 5th? That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not so
pushing
good.
through.
Yes, but on the upside, pitchers and catchers report to spring training tomorrow.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I can't wait. Baseball's almost here. Thank goodness.
It's just another sign of spring. And here in Green Bay, it's day 2 of the 2025 preseason. 72 days till the NFL draft, which we're all abuzz about. And then ESPN reports that the Packers are number 7 in the early NFL power rankings.
There you go. Ooh, okay. All right.
I know.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. So we're going to pick it up with Kate Duffy in just a couple of minutes here, and we're going to talk about how you can get involved in saving moms' lives right here in our own backyard. Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. That goes so fast.
It does. It goes very, very fast. Oh, there's some more wham for you. Oh, I think, Kate, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. You were frozen for a moment there.
I might have just been frozen in time, looking at my phone.
Frozen like Elsa.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. All right. Is it just it's the two of you for this for the segment? All right. Unlike other shows with Pat, Kate, when you're done with your segment, if you could stick around just for a few minutes, like a minute or two at most, letting the live stream upload because we're recording this for further posterity if you want to use the video.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'll let you know when you want to. I'll let you know. Sorry, I'm looking at the live stream right now. I'll let you know when you can go. Other than that, you're all good to go. We come back in a little less than a minute, and we'll see you very, very soon, both of you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Secret show.
Wake me up before you go. Is it too much for 6 o'clock on a Tuesday morning in February in Wisconsin? It seemed like a good idea yesterday.
I need something.
Yeah. We're going to get there. Welcome back to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Dr. Kristin Lyerly here with Greg Bach. We are Bach in the Dock, filling in for Pat Kreitlow, who's going to be back on Monday. This song, Paula Abdul, first #1 hit on this day in 1989. This is how I was feeling last night when I went to a listening session with my reps. Like, straight up, now tell me. I didn't get that.
You should have had that up like on a boombox on your shoulder, just walking into the room.
Wearing tights and leotards and the whole big hair thing too, by the way.
Don't give her any ideas. I wouldn't put that past her.
And my hair. Can I get a perm? Can I please get a perm? I always want a perm.
Doctor, of course you can. Of course you can.
That other voice that you're hearing, that is the extraordinary Kate Duffy from Motherhood for Good. She popped in this morning to give us a little update on what's happening with postpartum Medicaid in the state. Kate, welcome and good morning.
Good morning. It's been a minute since I've been on Up North News Radio. I think since, just before the election in November. So happy to be back. This is a little earlier than my normal spot. So I'm still in my first cup of coffee. I may be a calmer version than what people are used to.
You'll be calm for starters, but as we get into this stuff, I think that's going to change.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so I've been pushing pretty hard, and a lot of folks within Motherhood for Good on this postpartum Medicaid Advantage, which is, I'm sure, something you're very familiar with too. And I know you've worked really hard on as well. Seeing as we are one of now only 2 states that has not expanded postpartum Medicaid to 12 months. We're still at 60 days. And I've been watching it for the past couple of years, watching the ticker go down. It's like, because it was first introduced to states in 2021 as something that they could adopt at a 90% fund rate to help postpartum moms in their state. And we saw as state by state by state by state took the deal, and they're like, oh yeah, why wouldn't we do that? And now we're down to 2 states, Wisconsin and Arkansas, that have not done this.
Why is this important? I mean, what happens with Medicaid right now in Wisconsin, and what would this change for moms and families?
Yeah, so Medicaid is, part of our program to help low-income people who need healthcare. And right now, when moms have a baby, the baby can be on it for the first year, but the moms can only be on it for 60 days postpartum. And if for anybody who has had a child knows that 60 days is there's definitely not a magic wand that somebody waves and then you're all better. I wish we could do legislation to do that, because that would be amazing. But unfortunately, that is not the case.
Out of a job.
Yeah. a lot of things happen after that. And, we live in a country where maternal mortality, unfortunately, is much higher than it should be. And having access to healthcare directly impacts how well people are and how many lives we can save. And I think we had like just around 50 deaths last year in the state within a year of that postpartum date. And this is something easy that we can do to help those moms just have access to care for the first year of their life. And I'm sure you could talk a little bit more about like all of the different medical things that can come up that first year, but also it's so bipartisan in a time where almost nothing is bipartisan.
Right.
It was approved by so many people in the last session, but never got to the floor for a vote. And it actually got reintroduced by Republicans this session, and has a ton of Republican co-sponsors and Democratic co-sponsors.
It's actually the Republicans who are really pushing it. Like
They
you
are.
said, we've got what's the name of the sponsor out of Weston who introduced this bill, the Assembly rep. I'll come up with it. He has been out stumping for this, as has Jesse Rodriguez. I mean, they are very much out in the press talking about the need for this. Most women who die related to their pregnancy die in the postpartum period. And you said 50 women. We think that 80% of these deaths are preventable. We could save 80% of these women who die in the United States if we can get them access to care. And that's what this is all about. And to know that this is bipartisan, bicameral, they are working together like they work together in no other way. And it's not just our legislators, it's the coalitions of groups coming together. It's the Catholics, it's the anti-choice groups, it's the OBGYN doctors. I mean, everybody wants this except
Robin Voss.
Tell
Dun,
me more
dun, dun.
about
Our Assembly Speaker.
Right.
He, is almost proud about not supporting this. He has said that it's likely not going to come for a vote. He has said, quote unquote, that when asked about it, that we just give away too much free stuff. He also said recently that his caucus in general is not a fan of welfare programs. Which is just, there's conservative and then there's cruel. And I think, we're seeing a lot of conservatives and Republicans supporting this because they know that it makes sense. And not only does it make sense from a moral or healthcare perspective, it actually makes sense financially as well. It is not a huge investment. And in the states that have already adopted this, they're seeing that it actually saves money because when people don't have access to healthcare and then they need it and they can't afford it, then that ends up putting more onus on the state to pay for things as well. So
Exactly
it's
right.
a smart decision all around.
Yeah, I mean, we count the number of people who die, but for every person who dies, there are 100 people who are harmed, and many are permanently harmed. And this is physical health, mental health, things that impact families and whole communities. So this is a real opportunity. There's going to be a hearing tomorrow in the Senate. Are you going?
Yes, I am going to go. I need to check the snow, but I am planning on being there. So there's a hearing in the Senate. If you can get to Madison, we would love if you could come too and testify in favor of this bill. If you go to our Instagram, Motherhood for Good, in our recent posts, we also have ways of how you can submit testimony if you cannot come. And the Senate is not really going to be the problem, although we don't anticipate that to be the problem. But we also really need Representative Voss or Speaker Voss to call to the floor to the Assembly for a vote as well. So we're encouraging everybody to call their senator and representatives to make sure they're co-sponsoring.
Hey, I love that call to action because so many of us are feeling frustrated and like we want to do something. And this is something that's so easy to get behind. So say it again, Kate. What can people do?
Try to come to the hearing if you can. If you can't, call your state senator and state representative and ask them to co-sponsor legislation to expand postpartum Medicaid, and that'll be great.
Yeah, we'll save lives.
Yeah.
We'll save moms' lives.
And you'll hear your Republicans say, "Oh, we already support it," which is great.
That's fabulous. Kate, thanks for jumping on with us this morning. Thank you for the work that you do. You're incredible.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right. We'll be back in a couple minutes. I'm Kristin Lyerly, Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're only playing.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Yay!
Kate, are you sticking around, or is that the?
I'm good.
Okay,
That's
cool.
it, 'cause we have another guest popping in.
Oh, we do. There's Andy. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hello, Andy. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you? How's my audio? I was a little worried. It's a little echoey in here, maybe.
Do you happen to have earbuds or earphone?
I do. I'd have to jump probably on my iPad.
that would be helpful. It's a little muddled right now. It's kind of hard to hear.
Okay.
And if it doesn't work out, you can call us too. That's fine as well.
Okay. Let me try this.
Okay, great. Kate, you should be good. Oh, there. Oh, no.
Kate, am I going to see you tomorrow night? Are we chatting? You, me, Emily?
Yes. Yeah. You
right.
won't be there tomorrow, right? You're not coming to the Capitol, right?
No, I can't. Yeah.
Okay, yes, but I am excited to chat.
All right,
Can you
Andy,
hear me now?
Much better. That's great. That's wonderful. Perfect. Kate, you're probably good to go. It shows it's still uploading, but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You're sure. If anything, what we'll do is we'll send you a link, and you can just click it, and it will upload in the background. You don't have to worry about it.
Perfect.
But yeah. So thanks a lot, Kate. Appreciate you.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Great to see you.
All right, Andy, we've got a longer break. We're coming back in about 3 minutes. So yeah, we're good to go. You have any questions?
No, we'll do our best.
Wonderful. And then when the interview is over, if we can just have you stick back for like a minute or two, gonna let the audio and the visual upload so we can get the highest resolution for further posting if you want to do that. Other than that, we're good to go.
Looked off for a second. Was that something you saw too or not?
What was that now?
I didn't see it.
No. Okay. Hopefully I don't have a problem with Wi-Fi or anything. It just flashed for a second.
Okay. If there's a problem with the Wi-Fi, we cut out. I'm going to put the phone number to the radio station, to the station I'm in, and
Okay.
you just call it, and we'll just put you in that way, and you're fine.
Sounds good.
All right. So we got about a little more than 2 minutes. Go do whatever you need to do. Be back in 2 minutes, and see you soon.
All right.
Andy, this is the secret show. So this is still streaming on YouTube. So don't swear.
Don't swear. Okay. Or play any Disney tunes, right?
Right. Are you in Jack's bedroom?
I am in Jack's old bedroom. It's become our office because we created a suite downstairs for the baby and Amy and Ben, who were here this last weekend. So
how'd it go?
Good. Well, good from our point. We didn't hear hardly any crying or anything. But she doesn't. She's still not sleeping real well. She slept, I guess, from like 10 o'clock to 6 in the morning twice, like a week ago, and they thought they had kind of gotten through it all, and then since then it's been back to kind of fits and starts of 3-4 type things. So. Which probably isn't bad, but Amy's going back to work here in a couple weeks, so they're hoping to get into a schedule soon.
It's been a long time since we've been in that situation, but just hearing that just kind of emotionally brings me right back to those moments where you're like, oh, am I going to get through the day? I'm exhausted.
Yep.
I got to take care of this baby.
Yeah. But she's, you see more personality every time we see her, and you get a 45 minutes of her kind of playing and looking around and stuff like that before she needs to tell you she needs something. So that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. All right, we're on in 30 seconds, and we'll bust in, and I'll do a little intro, and then I'll introduce you.
All right.
a little fun before I die. Sits a man next to me out of nowhere.
Good morning and welcome back to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Dr. Kristin Lyerly here with Greg Bach on the board. We are, of course, Bach in the Dock. It's 6:34 on Tuesday, February 11th, and we're listening to Sheryl Crow because it's her 63rd birthday. That's a preview of our history lesson coming up at 6:50. By the way, did you know that Sheryl Crow was a music educator, a public school music educator in her hometown before she made it big? There's a little tie-in there to our next guest, who is a dear friend of mine, and actually he's kind of a big deal here in the States. His name is Andy Weiland. He's the longtime business manager for the Oregon School District. Over 25 years, right, Andy? It's been a long time.
It has been a few years. Yes.
Yeah.
It's gone fast.
Yeah, it sure has. Now, you've lived the impact of policy changes on public education through multiple different administrations. You've seen a lot. Last year, you were invited to the White House. You got to speak at the inaugural summit for sustainable and healthy K-12 school buildings and grounds because of your innovative leadership and some of the cool stuff you're doing in your district. You're a community builder. You're a husband, a dad, and a new grandpa. I'm so excited to welcome you to the radio this morning. Welcome to Civic Media Mornings.
Thank you, Kristin. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's just start off with the question that everybody seems to be thinking about right now. The Department of Education, there are a lot of changes that are happening on the federal level, and it seems really scary. You know, here in Wisconsin, we've seen a lot of changes. We've seen a lot of referendums. We've seen a lot of questions about school funding, and that's your bailiwick. What do you think these changes are going to do here in the state and here in our own communities? What can we expect?
Well, I think that's the really big question right now is there's just so much unknowingness, right? And there's so much fear that's kind of connected to that. For Oregon school districts, for instance, you know, we're talking about a couple $1 million in funding, and it's funding that goes to kind of our most needy students. In that a good portion of it goes to like 88% of that $2 million goes to two main things. One being the students with special needs in our district. So IDEA funding basically for them, which is a grant that funds a portion of special education program. And then the USDA program for feeding students low income. And so free and reduced lunch population, that's a major funding source for those students to make sure that they have the nutrition that they need to be good learners in our schools. So those are the two things that we're worried about. The other 12% in our district doesn't amount to a lot. It does help with students with English as a second language needs, as well as some help for professional development in our school district. But in other districts who quite honestly have larger free and reduced lunch populations, because that's how the money's kind of allocated quite a bit, you know, that's a larger portion of that. So the fear is what impact could that potentially have for those districts that rely more heavily on those revenue sources?
Hey, I really appreciate that perspective because what we've been hearing and what we heard back in November, a criticism of Tim Walz was that he was feeding the students in Minnesota, all kids get free food. And there's been that movement here in Wisconsin that we're going to feed our students because students who are not fed cannot learn. So to know that these changes at the federal level have the potential to really impact kids' ability to eat so that they can learn it's really scary.
Yeah, you know, we always talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If you can't take care of those lowest level needs that students, it's really hard to kind of get them to be able to learn geometry or whatever type of thing that you're trying to teach them at that time.
Yeah. So you have been in Oregon, which is a delightful community with a lot of resources, and you've been able to pass referendums when you needed to keep the district on track and support the district. All across the state, we've seen an increase in the number of referendums that districts have had to put up, even for operational expenses, the stuff that keeps the lights on. So, from your perspective as the treasurer of WASBO, the Wisconsin Association of School Board Officials, did I get it right?
Business officials, you're close.
Business officials. It's a great acronym, WASBO. How are we doing statewide with school funding, and where do we need to see change?
Yeah. So just some key indicators that we kind of use, kind of changed over the last 20 years that provide a little bit of alarm from our perspective, and actually kind of explain why we're having so many referendums, which is if you were to take actually even from 08, 09, so 08 was kind of the great recession. We've really been detached from a consumer price index increase, for example, and keep in mind that the majority of our costs are staff related, right? So these are people that need to have an increase in their earnings in order to just keep up with inflation. If you were to look at that number in the state of Wisconsin without referendums, we're about $3,400 behind in that 20-year gap. So $3,400 per student behind. So depending on how many students you are, you can that the number gets up pretty quickly. Now, keep in mind that that is the average compared to in the state of Wisconsin, and some school districts, have passed referendums, so they're doing better as Oregon is. We've been extremely fortunate to have our community basically support us in ways that increase their property taxes, and we've told them that, and they've still been able to find it in their hearts to kind of continue to prioritize students. But other districts have other situations, different financial things happening in their communities that make that difficult. From a state perspective, we back in 2002, we were 11th in spending in the state. So average spending, we were the 11th highest, which was actually about 7%, or I'm sorry, 11% higher than other states. So we were spending 11% more per student, and we were ranked 11th in the state in the United States. In 2022, which is the most recent time that we have data from a United States perspective, we had fallen to 25th, so right in the middle of the pack, and we were actually 7.2% less than the average in the United States of spending per student. So huge disparity, huge change that's happened in our state as far as supporting education. And I'm on the budget side of things, and people talk about, well, whatever your priorities are should be reflected in your budget. And it kind of feels like things have changed in Wisconsin over that 20 years. We've had situations during the pandemic where the state didn't provide any additional resources to us. Was kind of shocking, quite honestly. What we were told at the time was that we were getting some federal resources, but what people didn't understand is that those federal resources were finite, right? Yes, there were millions of dollars, but they ended. And we were told to basically use those funds to continue to fund our staff members on a reoccurring basis. And so that just didn't work. And so as soon as they told us that, I kind of hit the alarm bell and said, that's going to be a problem. You're going to see districts going to have to go to referendum here in the state of Wisconsin. And for the most part, that is kind of proved out. It's just, there's no way that we can do that. The other thing that's kind of unique in Wisconsin, perhaps, is that school districts are funded on a per student basis. So everything's kind of a per student amount. It's called this revenue cap thing, which is a little bit inside baseball. But if we reduce students, we have to reduce in this portion that we would raise a dollar amount for per student, we have to decrease the amount of money that we spend. And that's hard because there are fixed costs associated with working with school districts. There's positions like myself, there's librarians, there's custodians, there's utilities that even if we lose a student or two, that doesn't, you're not able to proportionally reduce costs by that amount. So there's those fixed costs, and that creates problems. And over 70% of the schools in Wisconsin are seeing declining populations. That's a demographic thing that's happening. We've seen reduction in birth rates, really in the country, but in our state as well. And so that's not predicted to change. And so school districts that aren't growing, and in Oregon, again, we've been fortunate. Not only have we had our constituents pass referendums, but we are stable, if not growing a little bit. And that's a great situation. But we have several friends and colleagues that throughout the state that are seeing these decreases in student population. And that's really tough on them because they have to cut not only those perhaps a teacher, if they're so lucky to actually have enough fifth graders, for instance, leave their district that they can actually reduce a staff member, but they have to reduce all those fixed costs associated as well. And that's just an untenable situation that's really difficult to work through.
So I hear you saying that in communities that are aging and shrinking with regards to the number of students in the district, their funding is also shrinking, but their fixed expenses are staying the same. And that puts these districts at a real disadvantage.
Absolutely. And sometimes you get to a point in time where you can close a school. Not the most happy thing to do in a community that would lose a school. Very, very difficult for people to do. But again, that doesn't just happen because you lost 20 kids. But that 20 kids could mean, a couple $100,000 in reductions. And so that's really hard.
From a business perspective, what do you think the most pressing issue is that our schools are facing? Is it funding? Is it staffing? Is it morale? There's a lot going on in our school districts right now.
Yeah. Coming out of the pandemic, it has been difficult to keep people upbeat about things. So morale is a thing, but school funding is just something that kind of cuts through it all. And obviously I'm probably biased in this area because this is my area. There's other things that we're dealing with, trying to decrease the disparity in educational attainment between our different subgroups of our population. Those are things that Wisconsin is known to struggle with. And rightfully so, we need to put more time and energy into it. Well, but it's really hard to do when you're trying to figure out how you can make the revenues equal to the expenses in a situation where things are kind of lined up against you. And the other thing I would say is school funding in Wisconsin is complicated. It's not simple. People have a hard time understanding it. Sometimes our legislators even have a hard time understanding it. They will talk about how much money they've put into education, and that confuses the public because this thing called the revenue limit doesn't let you always spend that money. So if you can't spend the money, what it actually does is it provides some tax relief, which isn't a bad thing. It's just doesn't really help the district kind of meet the needs of the students at that time.
Hey, Andy, I'm so grateful to you for taking some time out of your morning to teach us a little bit about how our school districts work. And in our last minute, I'm wondering if listeners are feeling inspired or motivated by what you're talking about, how can they engage and be part of that positive change that we all want to see?
Yeah, I think I would direct you to the Wisconsin Association of School Business Officials website. And there's a link on there called advocacy on the top. Click on that, and there's a bunch of information there. There's some videos too that are more public facing. On the link, you're going to find some things that are kind of inside baseball a little bit, but click the link and there's some real nice videos that explain Wisconsin school funding as well as we possibly could.
Wisconsin Association for School Business Officials, WASBO.
WASBO, you just have to be careful because unfortunately we're not all very creative. And so there's other states like Washington that might pop up. So make sure that Wisconsin is in there as well.
Got it. We will have that link in our show notes. I will share it on my socials, Dr. Kristin Lyerly on all the socials. Andy Weiland, business manager for the Oregon School District. Again, thank you so much for joining us and teaching us this morning.
You betcha.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to have a history lesson. We've got more Sheryl Crow. We've got, I don't want to tell you too much. I want to tell you when we come back. This is Dr. Kristin Lyerly with Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Otherwise, the bar is on.
All right, Andy.
That
Actually,
was
you were,
awesome.
that was fantastic. Andy, you were actually all set. I forgot that iOS, Apple does not support the live recordings.
Oh.
So no worries. That's not blame Tim Cook. That's what I'm going to do. So, but other than that, you're all set, Andy. Thank you so much for sticking around and being here with us today. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Kristin, love to get together with you sometime.
Yes, this summer block party, end of the street.
Sounds good.
All right, it's a date.
All
See you
right.
later.
See ya. Thanks, Greg.
See you later.
Bye.
All right, we're coming back in a little less than 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Finishing the notes. We're gonna do big stretching for all those out there. Secret show.
Mm-hmm.
Very proud of you, by the way. When we brought the segment in and I was playing Sheryl Crow to start the whole thing, I went to do this and realized she can't see me because my camera's off. And within half a second, you brought it back. You just knew. It mind melt. We're like Bach in the dock. It's just one brain. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for this brain that you have to share.
Imagine what that would be like.
You don't
Imagine.
want this.
Greg.
You'd be in the middle of helping some wonderful woman deliver a baby, and then you'd be like, you know what's really cool? The Lego Captain America shield. It comes with its own stand. And they're like, what are you talking about right now?
You know, the best way to have a baby when someone is pushing is to make them laugh, because when they laugh, they actually push. So
I'd be the best doctor.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I just show up for the pushing. Like, what else does he does? Nothing. All right, we're coming back in 5 seconds.
I got a feeling all the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye.
That's Lovesick Blues by Hank Williams, released on this day in 1949. It would go on to later become the Billboard Song of the Year. And oh, how country music has changed.
Yeah. I can have a long conversation about that topic.
You want to bust out a little Florida Georgia line?
I'd rather not, thank you very much. Here's my problem with that. I don't have a problem with the group. And as your partner Craig said yesterday, he's a fan. That's fine. I have no problem with that. My problem is that the song that I played yesterday for you, like half the lyrics was him rapping, which is once again fine. But then I think about all those people who are like, Beyonce's not country. This isn't country music. I'm like, so some guy rapping over a mandolin is country music? Like, tell me your science. Show your work, as I always say.
Greg, it's not about science. You know what it's about.
I know. Yep. It's the thing I don't want to say, or we'll get calls, people yelling at me.
Okay, so let's just talk about Sheryl Crow. She's 63 today. We played her earlier.
Goodness.
I know. So as I mentioned, she was an elementary music school teacher before she got her big break in Michael Jackson's Bad tour in 1987.
It's crazy.
And I know. And in doing a little research, she's my sorority sister, Kappa Alpha Theta.
What? Would you, like, if you saw her, would you do like a secret handshake or like a high five or a little dance or something?
It.
Okay. All right. All right.
You know who else's birthday it is today?
Who?
Tammy Baldwin. Senator Tammy Baldwin. Our Tammy.
The same birthday as Sheryl Crow?
And Sarah Palin and Jennifer Aniston.
Nice.
I know. It's a big day.
It's a very big deal.
You know what else happened today?
What else happened?
At EMI Studios in London, now called Abbey Road, the Beatles recorded 10 songs in one day. And they saved this one for last. I know you're all singing right now. They had to save it for last because they knew that John was going to torch his voice.
Exactly. And I've never been to Abbey Road. I'm a big fan of recording studios. I love recording studios. but I have walked across Abbey Road.
You have?
Yep. And a friend of mine took a picture of me, and she made it so there were 4 of me walking across Abbey Road.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was one of you reversed so that your step was out of line like Paul?
No, it wasn't. We didn't get that thoughtful in it. I just walked across quick so I didn't get hit by a car.
This was my first Beatles album. This was like, I'm a huge Beatles fan, and it was this album that sparked that.
For me, in our house, we had the blue and the red records. Those were always in the house. They were on cassette. So the greatest hits of the blue and the red period. That's how I got my intro to the Beatles. My mom and I love the Beatles. We talk about the Beatles a lot.
We need to have a Beatles day where it's all Beatles music.
I don't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what else happened on this day?
What else happened?
There was another song that I just cherish.
Yeah.
From a recording artist that we know as Weird Al Yankovic.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard of that guy. He's a popular fellow. Let's see. Do I have it here? Oh, here it is.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Lucy, I'm home. Oh, Ricky,
this was the best back in 1983 because parody just wasn't a thing. We thought this was so hilarious.
It was cutting edge humor.
Yeah. You know, Weird Al takes his humor seriously. This is a guy who has 5 Grammy Awards, 4 gold records, 6 platinum records, and he holds a bachelor's degree in architecture from Cal Poly.
He graduated from high school 2 years early as a valedictorian, and he can also boast having Daniel Radcliffe play him in his own biopic.
I know, isn't that wild?
It's wonderful.
Oh my gosh. Other birthdays this morning. Tina Louise, the last surviving survivor of Gilligan's Island, is 91 today. How did she not get that white dress stained? I mean, with all that island living?
She knows how to work it. She knows how to work it.
Yeah, the heels. I don't know. It's Leslie Nielsen's birthday. Burt Reynolds, born in 2018. Thomas Edison's birthday. And George Winston. Love that guy.
George Winston. Who's
George
that?
Winston of the piano fame.
Oh.
He was that famous piano player who would come out with no shoes on.
Oh, yes. I love George Benson, the guitar player. So.
Oh,
there
yeah.
You go.
There's a tie-in later with that. Yeah. You know what else it is? National days. It's National Inventor Day. It's Peppermint Patty Day. Are you a Peppermint Patty guy?
I can do them. I can do a small one and then I'm good. I can't it's not something like, oh, give me all of them. It's like, oh, there's one. I'm good. I'll see you in a month.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can pace myself with the peppermint patties.
Yeah.
It's Shut-In Visitation Day. It's White T-Shirt Day. Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk Day. Always a classic here in the Dairy State. Make a Friend Day. Safer Internet Day, U.S.
Okay. Wasn't yesterday Clean Out Your Computer Day too? So it's like a computer themed thing. I don't know. I don't do these days. I'm sorry.
Were you motivated to clean out your computer yesterday?
I try to make sure it's clean just because I don't like when it runs slow. I just make it a regular thing to clean it out.
Safer internet. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
we need more safer internet, especially these days. Yeah,
especially for the youngins.
That's right. All right. Well, in our next hour, because we got to take a little break here, we're going to have meteorologist Brittany Merlot, as usual, to tell us how cold it is in Hayward right now, because the last time I checked, it was minus 21.
Yeah.
We're also going to visit with De Pere's school board candidate and Motherhood for Good ambassador Colleen Nowak. And, in the meantime, This is Dr. Kristin Lyerly, Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Secret show. All right.
I'm going to get some coffee.
All right, cool. See you back in about 7 minutes? Yep, 7 minutes.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome back to the second hour of Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I am Dr. Kristin Lyerly, here with the incredible Greg Bach. We are Bach in the Dock, filling in for Pat Kreitlow, who's going to be back on Monday. Later this hour, we're going to be visiting with De Pere School Board candidate and Motherhood for Good Ambassador Colleen Nowak. We're doing a big Motherhood for Good push today because they're just so good.
Their motherhood for good.
Their motherhood for good. And that conversation with Andy in our last segment, he just explains things. He's so knowledgeable and so thoughtful about his approach to school funding. We take these business professionals in our schools for granted because it just kind of happens for us as citizens. But man, so smart, so visionary, and really grateful to him for spending some time with us this morning to teach us a little bit about how our schools are funded and how the Department of Education changes may impact us here in our communities in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. We should be funding schools well and making sure they're great places for learning, and not slashing and burning them down and diverting their money towards other things, if you will.
Yeah. It was really interesting to hear that this is the money that feeds our students, and that's fundamental. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have to be fed in order to be able to do anything else. So yeah, really important stuff. Hey, y'all, you're welcome to join the conversation anytime. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. You can text us on the Civic Media app and comment on the live stream on YouTube. And hey, it is 7:08, and guess who we're welcoming back this morning after her Super Bowl Monday day off? It's Brittany Merlot, everybody. Wow.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Were you partying it up on Sunday, Brittany?
You'd say that, I guess. I really took a really long road trip, honestly. I went all the way to Michigan. So I went down south, saw some family, went to Michigan, saw some friends that were all meeting there, and then drove all the way back. But I had to leave during Saturday's snowstorm. So I drove through that. Yes. And then last night through the cold front. So a lot of snow out on the roads and even more on the way this week.
Girl, you should have checked the weather before you went.
I know, right? All people.
Well, then once you hit Milwaukee, you're like, oh, it's fine.
Exactly. Speaking of, temperatures across the state are so crazy this morning. We're from 22 below into Hayward to 20 degrees into Kenosha. It's a big difference.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's wild. Make it better. Fix it. Where's your wand?
Do something. Yeah. You're the wizard of weather.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm going to request then? Snowstorm after snowstorm, like tomorrow and then Friday.
This is like when you get the genie bottle and you wish for something. They're like, yeah, sure. And then they use the words against you and you're like, yeah, darn it.
Yep. That just happened. Oh, gosh. Yeah, you're actually in a winter storm watch right now, Greg, down south. Areas from Sheboygan to Milwaukee, all the way to Janesville. And that's for tomorrow, where a good 4 to 9 inches of snowfall is possible.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Wait,
you're
4 to 9 now?
Snow. Yeah.
I didn't order it. I'm not a fan of snow.
But I mean, we've got all these snow blowers and shovels that we need to start using. I mean, it's a waste of money if we don't, right?
I will say this. I love that the areas that need snow, that use it for sports, use it for business. I'm so happy they're finally getting it because last year it was a disaster. Yeah. But I don't have a ski resort at my house.
You will.
I don't. Take my snow, please. Thank you very much.
I feel like there could be an exchange here. Like Brittany would happily take all of your snow and leave you with the no snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Deal. Done. Shake hands. There we are. Fine.
Oh.
So what's going on across the rest of the
new north?
Well,
the state's pretty calm. It's just like going through this big high pressure system and then another low following it every other day. So it's going to get breezy too. On Thursday, we're going to have some wicked wind chills once again. Temperatures staying pretty cold. I mean, highs today into central Wisconsin are only going to be in the single digits. While down south, you'll hit the 20s, but still that's crisp out there. And then tomorrow we slide to highs only in the teens to single digits statewide. And that stays the case for the rest of the week too. So some pretty crisp, cool air, wind chills, snow, a brutal February Of course, it always really settles in when we're kind of getting tired of it a little bit. But, we do need it. We are in a snow drought still, regardless, even after over the weekend.
We are halfway through winter.
We are.
Yeah.
There's a bright side.
And I was saying before is that I feel like February is the pinnacle of where it can all be just, like really hard. And I even like with the snow, more with the cold. The cold always seems to hit the worst in February now. And then when you make it through and you hit March, you're like, all right, it's going to get better. You're going to have some cold days in March. There might be snow in March, but you also know that the next month after that is April. And then May, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. And then you get people saying, it's so hot out. You're like, I can't win.
Yes,
this is just
my life.
welcome to Greg's month by month whining grandpa marathon.
I love it when you see in the spring, it's like 30 degrees outside, but people are so desperate to wear like short sleeves and shorts that you see these folks and you're like, that's how I know I live up north.
We also have ourselves, of course, the weather report from Tigerton. Rob from Tigerton saying, good morning from Tigerton. It's clear and 2 degrees above zero with a wind chill of 8 degrees below zero. He goes on to say, yesterday I had to plow my sister Lori's driveway out there out with a tractor with the front end loader broke down. Her favorite brother came to the rescue. He says, thank you, Kristin, for sharing my pictures on your social websites. It's very appreciated. And he also says, what else? He goes, Brittany, I hope you are feeling better, and thank you for helping make February normal Wisconsin winter. And snowmobile trails in western Shawano County are open as of yesterday morning. It's just as always, Rob from Tigerton sharing love. And for me, most importantly, he says, when I think of Weird Al, I think of the old Dr. Demento radio shows that used to air on WSPT radio in Stevens Point. Fun fact, Weird Al Yankovic was the very first live concert I saw. He opened for the Monkees in 1986. And
really?
That was the Like a Surgeon tour.
Where did you see that?
The Marcus Amphitheater.
I went to that show in Green Bay.
Nice. Yep. It was the 20th anniversary of the Monkees. They were touring on their album Pool It. Oh my God. But yeah, that was I remember seeing it, and he did the surgery on stage. I'm like, this seems weird, and I loved it.
Oh my gosh. Okay then. Well, Brittany, thanks for hanging out with us.
Of course. You guys have a good day. Stay warm and get ready for the snow.
Thank you, DJ Flip Mix.
Yay.
Oh, we love Brittany's weather report.
We do. Yeah.
Yes. But let's talk a little bit just briefly about sports, because I just want to remind you one more time that Greg ruined the Bucks last night by
what did I do?
By jinxing them, talking about Steph Curry. Yeah, so the Bucks lost to Marquette. Sorry, to Golden State.
Thanks.
When Steph Curry had a season high 38 points, but you can redeem yourself because there's another game coming up. And tomorrow, Marquette is playing. Number 18 Marquette takes on DePaul. Number 16 Badger men play number 7 Purdue on Saturday. That's going to be a game.
I didn't tell you this. On Sunday, I watched some college hoops. And I was very interested. I was kind of fascinated. I don't watch a lot of basketball. For me, okay, for those who don't know, baseball is my sport. I love baseball, and I'm a big fan of tennis. Those are my two sports. Basketball, I'm trying to get more into because there's so many people into it, and I know that when you work in radio, there's going to be conversations about, especially when you live in Wisconsin, football conversations, and they're going to be got to keep up. So I was watching, the Wisconsin Badgers play on Sunday, and I'm like, this is very entertaining and fun to watch. I found myself watching it, not just like peering over to look at the score.
College basketball is so different than professional basketball too.
Very much.
I find it very entertaining.
Yeah. What makes it entertaining for you? Like, what's the key difference for you with college basketball?
It's less of this polished like pass and score, and it's more scrappy.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, I also love all the, I was a mascot, and so I love the band and the cheerleaders, and it's less of a production, and it just feels more like you're part of it.
Yeah. Okay. I remember I went to a Bucks game, and I felt like it was so regimented. Like they're like, here's the game. Here are all the games we're playing between the breaks and all this. I'm like, it felt like a show. It felt like a concert almost, where everything was, scheduled down to the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the basketball was just a part of it. It was sort of like interwoven in it. But I would go see a college game. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you definitely should. Badger games are a blast. And
Yeah.
Bucks games, you have to be really careful about when you choose to go to the bathroom during the game, because there's always something happening. You're going to miss something.
Well, also, I mean, I think I'd like to believe that a Badger game is going to be cheaper than a Bucks game, but then again, if it's at the Fiserv, who knows? But I got to support the Panthers because I am a UW Milwaukee graduate. So go Panthers.
Go Panthers. Hey, you want to talk about a headline that I saw yesterday that I find very entertaining?
Yes.
Did you happen to see the legislation that Mark Pocan introduced last week in the style of Doge and the spirit of democracy? It's called the Eliminate Looting of Our Nation by Mitigating Unethical State Kleptocracy Act. Yeah, the acronym is the Elon Musk Act. And it was... It's so good. It's so good. It is intended to ensure transparency and honesty in government spending. It would direct federal agencies to terminate any contracts held by a special government employee, similar to the bans on receiving contracts, because members of Congress can't do this kind of inside stuff. Folks who work for the federal government can't do this inside stuff, but somehow Elon Musk can. So Mark Pocan has introduced this legislation, and it's pretty fun.
Well, we will definitely be talking to Mark Pocan about that, because he's going to be on Matinee on Air next Tuesday at 10:30. So this will definitely be brought up in conversation, because that's one of the things I love about Congressman Pocan is that he's an amazing legislator, and he just doesn't take guff. He's also he himself is scrappy, I believe. He's a scrappy gentleman, and he has fun with what he does. And there's oh my gosh, chef's kiss.
Yes. Well, and recognizing that last year Elon Musk spent more than $250 million to help elect Donald Trump, and he has become $154 billion richer since then, a 600-time return on investment. So I love that Mark Pocan is putting it out there, and he's making it interesting so people will pay attention, because folks, it's our democracy that's at stake here. So really appreciate him. But hey, we're going to be back in 2 with more headlines, talk about the NIH, and, it's going to be nice. Civic Media Mornings with Dr. Kristin Lyerly.
All right. One thing we do need to work on is we got to get out. I've been asked, this is for everybody, station, network wide, 10 seconds. We got to be up 10 seconds just in case there's cut off or whatnot. So
that's good to know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that I've received no direction. So all of those little mechanics are very helpful.
I will say this, Dr. Lyerly, and I will let everyone in the secret show know this. From the first time Bach and the Doc premiered to where we are now, the amount of prep you've done and the way it is so great. To watch that from such a short amount of time. It was a month and a half ago, I think. It was holiday. It was holiday times. It was
New Year's Eve.
A month and a half ago. Yeah, it was a month and a half ago. And so the progress has been fantastic to witness. So all those little things, great. Yeah. If you have any other questions, just let me know. And I'm just I wasn't sure what Pat had told you, what anyone else had told you, but hey, we're doing this together and we're having a good time.
Good times.
Ba-dip-ba-dip-ba-doo. All right, let's see here. All right, we're coming back. 7:21:10. Got Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66. Loaded up.
I have a whole thing on NIH funding here to talk about.
Great. I will sit here and listen and be educated.
You are welcome to chat as well.
Thank you.
Of course.
Let's see. Oh, look at that, Doctor. Look at that, Tony. Dr. Lyerly seems like she's been doing this forever.
I am
very impressed.
Tony.
All right, we're coming back in 10.
Warm? Be warm.
All right, come back in 10.
Greg and I like to keep it classy here on Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. That's Mas Que Nada from Brazilian jazz great Sergio Mendes, born on this day in 1941, passed away last September. You know, Pat actually plugged this song in, and I thought I'm not going to know what this song is, but I definitely do know what that song is.
Absolutely. Yep. It's in all those sexy swinging 60s movies, and then anything making fun of it, you know.
Right.
And it's that, it's like, ooh, sexy party.
All right, we're going to just take a little bit of a turn from sexy party to NIH funding. Because we got to talk
itself
about
can be a sexy party if you want. It can be a sexy party. So
I mean, no, probably not.
Okay, fine.
So I think it's really important to talk about this. And this is a serious subject because what we have seen is, I mean, there's been a barrage of stuff coming from Washington, D.C., and it's been very chaotic, but this is something that really affects Wisconsin deeply and has long-lasting potential for very negative impact. So here's the deal. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, last week issued a directive to change the rate at which federal grants are funded. So this is a change in reimbursement for both existing and ongoing research. It went into effect on Monday, and it's one of, as you know, DOGE's many federal efforts to cut costs. Which, cutting costs it's always smart to be efficient. That's true. But in this situation, they're using a machete when they should be using a scalpel. And I'll explain why. So the day after this directive was published, the UW issued the following statement, and it's so precise and impactful that I'm going to read the whole thing. The University of Wisconsin-Madison is one of the world's leading engines of biomedical research. This proposed change to NIH funding, UW-Madison's largest source of federal support, will significantly disrupt vital research activity and delay life-saving discoveries and cures related to cancer, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, and much more. In addition, these reductions will have an inevitable impact on student opportunities to engage in research activities from undergrads to PhDs and medical students. Medical innovation will be slowed, delaying the creation of new treatments, new technologies, and new health workers. The so-called indirect costs go to support many aspects of the educational and research work of the university. Indirect costs contribute to everything from utilities charges to building up the laboratories where science is done to infrastructure for clinical trials of new medicines and new treatments. Drastic reduction to this funding will not only disrupt the day-to-day important work of the university, but will ultimately harm the livelihoods of real people across Wisconsin and the country. It will harm the innovation economy, and it will make our nation less competitive. And I love the emphasis that they put on students, on technology, on the cost, the financial cost, the impact on our health, because all of these things are so true. And it's not just the UW that's pushing back, of course. Many other research organizations have pushed back. The American Association of Medical Colleges, the American Council on Education, the Association of American Universities, and many more. As I said earlier, part of the Musk and Trump initiative to cut costs may sound good and may even look reasonable on paper. As I was reading it, the way it's written sounds like kind of logical. But, there's always more to the story. The directive that the NIH issued acknowledged that these indirect costs are really difficult to assign at the project level because it's things like lab time, technology, data processing, security, patient safety, so much of that infrastructure stuff that isn't just assigned to one project, but is assigned to lots of different projects. Lots of different labs use this infrastructure. And this is the infrastructure that you have to have if you're going to do the research. You can't just walk in with a bunch of test tubes and do some research in your kitchen. You need all of the other stuff as well. And the other problem with the NIH funding is the NIH statement is they compare this federal funding with private grant funding like the Gates Foundation. And they note that indirect costs are significantly less with private funding. So the goal that they have is to cut costs to be consistent with private funding. But the comparison is highly problematic because the two are vastly different. The budget methodology between private and federal funding is totally different. Even within different private funding sources, they have different ways that they allocate these funds. And many of the expenses that would end up in this indirect category, all that infrastructure stuff with federal funds, end up in the direct category with the private funds. Plus, private funds are only about 6% of the R&D dollars overall that we use for research in this country. And often the things that they fund are really different. So for example, the Gates Foundation really focuses on Africa and developing countries, really different from the lab research that we're doing here at the University of Wisconsin to find a cure for Alzheimer's and so many other things. So these reckless cuts are based on flawed assumptions. They will result in short and long-term harm to the people and institutions of our state, which ranks 6th nationally for research expenditures. The UW is a huge research school, 6th in the country. $1.7 billion in 2024, half of which comes from federal and institutional funds. Some of the projects that these things fund, a $29 million award that treats and studies causes of blindness. A nearly $20 million award to pursue innovations to help Wisconsin's dairy industry. A $15 million award for the College of Engineering to fund pioneering efforts to understand, detect, and prevent traumatic brain injuries. I mean, UW Solution, the reason we can even do transplants in this country was funded by these kinds of grants. So while this might look like a cost-cutting effort on its surface, the people of Wisconsin will end up paying in the short and long term, with far-reaching consequences for our state and local economies, as well as, perhaps most importantly, our health. Fortunately, Attorney General Call and Governor Evers have gotten behind this multi-state initiative to push back on this directive. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We're fighting for it. But this NIH funding, very concerning. So thanks for listening to my soliloquy. Appreciate you all. Yeah, but we need to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion about public education with Colleen Nowak, candidate for De Pere School Board. I'm Kristin Lyerly. This is Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. Hey, good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. Doing well. Sounding great. Good job. All right.
Thank you.
After the interview is done, I'm just going to ask you to stick back for like a minute and a half. Let the audio and visual upload for best resolution. Other than that, you're good to go. Just make sure your phone is silent. Make sure your windows that have notifications are turned off. No swearing. I hate having to tell adults that, but it's radio. No swearing. And other than that, we'll be good to go. This is a longer break, and we'll be back in a little more than 3 minutes.
Perfect. I'm going to X out all my other tabs. Now I don't trust them. How are you, Kristin?
I am all right. How are you?
Good.
Good. We had Kate on earlier talking about the postpartum Medicaid extension, which was really nice.
That's awesome. I was listening. That's great. And I was chatting with Alicia last night. We were messaging back and forth on Facebook about it. So I'm sorry that I didn't make it down Kakana, but
so frustrating. I mean, face to face, I didn't ask questions in the open forum, but I went up to both Representative Sortwell and Representative Gobin specifically to ask them to sign on. I said 2/3 of your colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, have signed on. This is legislation that saves moms' lives. And Sortwell just looked at me with this blank stare and this smug look on his face. It's so entirely political for him.
yeah.
He said, He said, Governor Evers could sign on to our extension, the 90-day extension that he signed on to 2 years ago. And I said, yeah, he did do that. It's sitting with the feds right now. They're not going to accept it because 90 days isn't enough. But, whatever.
It's all so frustrating.
I know. But the good news is that I'm sorry for all of us. But the good news is that I think this is a real opportunity for citizens to get involved, and the initiative we're seeing out of Motherhood for Good, out of the Main Street Alliance, out of the American College of OBGYNs, all of these different groups coming together. I think there's a real force behind this if we can just get the speaker to bring it to the floor.
Definitely. I remember it coming up. I think it was last year when it was coming up again, and I felt like it didn't get as much traction as it is now. So it's nice to see how much traction it's getting, and Motherhood for Good is helping with, pushing all the phone calls and everything too. So yeah, that's been great to see.
It's also very helpful. I think that it was introduced by a Republican, Patrick Snyder out of Weston,
Right.
and it's really being pushed by Jesse Rodriguez. These people are like in the media. They are talking about how important this is. They're talking about how ridiculous it is that it isn't passing. So to hear that coming from the right side of the aisle is
Right.
it just really emphasizes like this is not a partisan issue. This is about saving lives and keeping families together.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I think I saw that, and then what was I thinking? Never mind. I can't think of what I was gonna say. But yeah, I think that's gonna be amazing, an important push, because I think it's all these bipartisan things that are finally gonna be what's the most frustrating for everybody in the legislature. We need to just start pushing things.
I long to go back to a simpler time when Republicans and Democrats weren't like on two completely different sides. Like pick any issue and where people line up.
Right.
Just to let you know, it's we're about a minute out. So
Okay.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, just to be able to feel like if you were having a conversation with someone who is on the, like for me, because I'm such a prominent Democrat, I like Republicans. I have plenty of friends who are Republicans. I want to solve problems with Republicans, but when it's so political, like it is with Representative Sortwell, you just, you're not going to get anywhere because they don't want to solve problems. They just want to consolidate their power.
All right, 20 seconds.
Thanks, Greg.
Howling at the moon, riding her a tune, so much to let go, so much to hold.
Welcome back to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Dr. Kristin Lyerly here with Greg Bach on the board. It's 7:34 on Tuesday, February 11th. You like that song?
I love that song. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for playing it.
Oh, of course. So that's the Twins of Franklin out of Minneapolis with To the Moon. You can find them wherever you get your music, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. I personally discovered them when I was talking with our next guest, who happens to be the sister of one of those twins. Colleen Nowak, welcome to Civic Media Morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
Yep,
course.
that's my sister Laura and her friend Becky. They're not actually twins, believe it or not. One is my sister, so I lend her to Becky every once in a while to play in their band, the Twins of Franklin. So go check them out.
Yeah, and they're making quite a splash in Minneapolis. They've got a bunch of tour dates coming up. So yeah, check them out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, wherever you get your music. A little bit more about Colleen. She's a mom with young kids. She is a fellow healthcare provider, physical therapist. And when the need became apparent in her community, she banded together with others to organize and create a strong foundation for her local school district. Since that time, she's recognized that it's her turn to step up and lead in a different way. And I'm so excited to support her candidacy for public office. She's running for the first time for public office ever in her life for De Pere School Board. Colleen, how did this journey begin for you?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. My journey began in 2023. My son was in 4K, and our school district held a 10-year strategic planning program called Flight Path 2033. And it brought together a group of just community members, teachers, admin, students, and even like business owners and just people around our community. And it brought us all together to make this strategic plan and really make our top 10 priorities. And it was a whole long weekend and some really amazing conversations. And the best part was, I mean, they brought down like all the barriers. We're not talking politics. This is just what are our priorities, just people to people. And that program really inspired me to, I mean, I was already very invested in our schools, having 3 kids that will be in our district. But I like working together and creating consensus among our community. It felt amazing to work that way with people and our teachers and admin. So leading from that, it kind of led us to work on, we have a lot of buildings that are getting too small for our population. So we're needing to look at what we're going to do about that. So I was on a facilities planning committee, and that led to our referendum committee. I was a part of a parent vote yes group called Unified for the Kids of De Pere. And that brought us to now school board. I started attending a lot of our school board meetings just to help promote and get the information out there why we need these referendums, and be the voice that, our district can't tell people how to vote. They can just share the facts. So just being able to be the voice out in the community and educating our neighbors and community members who don't step foot in our schools necessarily, it's important for them to hear from parents why it is that we need to fund our schools and support our staff.
It's so true. And our schools really are the foundation of our communities. Whether you have kids in school or not, these kids, these teachers are they're employees. They are the people who are working in the restaurants that serve you. They are the people who are going to grow up and create the future in this district, in this area especially. People tend to stay here for generations. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm wearing my proud Kakana Ghost shirt because I was in Kakana yesterday at a listening session with my representatives. But we generation after generation are investing in each other, and in this region more than any other part of Wisconsin, we're growing the future. And that's exactly what you did with this strategic planning. Talk a little bit about some of how this work that you've done has helped you as a mom and a community member and somebody who may have been feeling kind of frustrated about what was going on, how you were able to channel your energy into this positive, good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say, I was an anxious person in 2016, and I just want to get out and do something. It was, and then the pandemic happened, and I was feeling frustrated. I, at that time, was a physical therapist in a nursing home in a senior community, so I was touched every day by the pandemic. And I finally got to a point. Now, it wasn't immediately, because sometimes when you're a parent, and especially a mom, I have to say, when you're in the throes of motherhood, you can't necessarily take the time to do everything. So we can't run for school board at every stage of our life. That it took until my oldest is now 8 to feel like I can do that, or even to work with this referendum group. But it finally got to a point where I did have the time and was able to start meeting with other people and working and taking the time to go to this flight path and go to different planning committees and the school board meetings and things like that. So, but it definitely has helped my mental health to be able to do things, to talk to people. I think being able to talk to our teachers and admin and other community members. I think just like you said, there's so many alumni in our area, and it's really fun to hear about their experiences in our high school. Then they're talking about how the high school looks exactly the same as they went to high school. So
Oh
it's
boy.
helpful to helpful to hear those stories. But people are so proud of our community, and being able to talk to people has even driven me more to be able to get out there and support our schools and the people within them. But yeah, it's helped to create more community. And like just this weekend, I was able to get some other families together and just have conversations. I did an event at our local paint your own pottery place, Paint and Pottery, and just to be able to talk, like, let's just get together, have the kids do some crafts and talk about what's on your heart, what's on your mind. And just being able to get out of the house to do that is important too for our mental health. But I think that's just being able to talk it out with other people and be heard has been very helpful. So I would encourage people, if you have community, even if it's just texting, even if it's sending some voice memos, like just being able to get that out is important for us.
Right. You don't have to run for school board, although you are.
No.
And you're running uncontested, which means that you
Yeah.
don't have to do anything. I mean, you are going to be elected, but you're still out there talking
Yeah.
with people, uplifting people, because that's your heart. And I think for a lot of us, you spoke about how do you channel your anxiety into something positive? It doesn't have to be running for school board. It could be joining a group, an indivisible group, a community conversations group. You could hop on board with the Mommy AF folks. We're going to talk with Andrea Fanta tomorrow. It's really just finding that sense of community, of support, and then growing out from there. And another thing that you mentioned, and it's something that when you find that sense of support, you're enhancing your mental health. And mental health was a giant priority when you worked on this strategic visioning for the De Pere School District. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing across the district and how this came to be a priority for us?
Yeah, so we got together again. That was 2023 when we were meeting for that 10-year plan committee or program. And it was that voted number one of our priorities. So I think that's really helped to drive when we were doing our operational referendum, where those fundings, what we're pushing for. And we were able to now hire another school psychologist and another school social worker. I think we're definitely making moves in the right direction. And I think we just need to continue to work that way and push for more mental health support. But I was able to meet with our teachers union last week. We did our forum last week. And one thing that they were touching on is their mental health. And I, as a person who works and just a human being, we all have our struggles with mental health, but mental health in the workplace is important too. And I really want to prioritize their mental health as well so that they have balance, because just like parents' mental health reflecting upon our children, the same thing's going to happen with our teachers and our kids, or admins and the kids that are in the school. We need them to feel balanced. And I know I need breaks. I need to be able to have balance in my daily life. So we need to have, substitute teachers so that they can go out and have the day off that they deserve without feeling extremely guilty that they didn't have a substitute teacher behind and classes were combined. Or we need to have the support day to day. One thing that I work on in my healthcare provider, in my role now, we have a care for the caregiver program, which is a peer support program. And I told the teachers, this is not to just like put a band-aid on the situation. This isn't the only thing I would suggest, but just something that I found helpful personally is being able to just have a peer support group where we can just talk it out, because sometimes you do just need to have a safe place to vent, but then also an opportunity to then get the support that you need, so that if you need to get mental health support, or if you need some more information of what the district does provide as far as mental health support, they have the opportunity to hear that.
That's so important. There were other opportunity or other challenges, priorities that you identified with Flight Path. What were some of the other things that you are going to be focusing on in the future as an elected school board member?
We have our we will have our let's see, I'm trying to think. We have limited space right now. So we will be looking in the future at possibly building another high school. We need to look at where that would go, what that would look like, and but otherwise we also are just looking at support for the students, looking at more trade focused classes and what kind of variety of classes that we'll have. We have a great youth apprenticeship program. So I think working with our community members to expand that will be amazing. And something I learned this year is there are actually healthcare apprenticeships. And I met a new babysitter.
Oh, that's amazing. Look at how that happened.
Shifts, I know. So
that
that is not why I'm running for school board, but
but it is a good way to find new babysitters.
It
It highlights how interconnected everything is. And we mentioned this earlier, but we have to connect our schools with the people in our communities. We have to bring our communities into our schools and foster that mutually supportive relationship. So in the minute or so that we have left, what are some ways that you envision bringing schools and communities together?
Yes. So I would love to do some more of these community conversations. With the referendums that we recently had, we were able to do some forums in our communities and our town halls and things like that. So I think doing that, but then I mean, I have big ideas that I have not passed a board or any admin where we could, have our summer school classes and maybe have more access to community members to some of those classes. I know that I have told our history teacher that I would love to audit some of his classes.
Oh, fun.
But
Yes.
then stuff like that. But I think also just being able to connect more with our community through our sports, through our music, things like that. So more outreach that way would be amazing.
Fantastic. Colleen Nowak, candidate for De Pere School Board, Motherhood for Good ambassador. If listeners want to know more about you or support your campaign, how can they find you?
They can find me at Colleen4DP.com. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Colleen4DP. So find me on all the socials and the website.
Fantastic. And I'll post it on my social. We'll have it in the show notes too. Colleen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you again for having me.
You bet. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with a preview of the shenanigans we have planned for tomorrow. I'm Dr. Kristin Lyerly, Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. Such a great song.
Thank you. I know.
Songs are rocking.
Yeah.
You are
they've got a good variety.
What was that now?
Thank you.
Sorry, they've got a good variety of songs. And there are a couple others that I should send you, Krista. I mean, it sounds like you looked into them a little bit. But I'll send you a couple of my favorites. But yeah, they're awesome.
I favorited them on my Apple Music.
Thank you.
All right. Stick around for a little bit, Colleen, and we'll be good to go. And we'll get that website in our show notes for this morning. And if you want to share it, you can go on the website and it's right there. There's what could be a dedicated site for that hour, and you're smack in the middle. So
yay, awesome. Thank you so much.
And
no
you
problem.
can screen grab and do stuff with it too if you want to.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Coming back in about a minute.
Cool. That was really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor being on here, and it was so much fun being on right after Kate too. And yeah, I missed the part, of course, I really wanted to listen to our the Oregon District finance guy that was like our running the kids out the door to the school bus time, where I was like, okay, now I really gotta actually help and parent for a minute. So this
You
timing
can
works great.
listen to it if you want to on YouTube. It's archived there.
Yeah. Yeah. I never listen on YouTube. Usually I'll listen on Spotify. Usually that's when I will listen back to it, or I can search for it when Kristen's on, or
All right, we're back in 15 seconds. You can jump off.
okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye,
See
guys.
you later.
Turn around.
Welcome back to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Dr. Kristin Lyerly, and this is your earworm for the day.
Every now and then I get a
You like
little
it?
bit tired of listening to the sound of
It's fantastic. I mean, you can't not sing this song when you hear it.
It is one of my favorite car songs. It was released on this day in 1983, so we're pulling all the history through the whole show today.
There is a video of this song. Someone all the way to write a song parody of this, where all they do is shot for shot describe the video of this song. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I will send it to you.
I would like to see it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in the meantime, I will continue to keep this on my playlist because it is one of my favorite car songs to sing. Do you have a favorite car song to sing?
It varies. Honestly, right now it's Kendrick Lamar, They Not Like Us. I cannot stop listening to that song.
Do you sing it?
Well, I mean, as many of the words as I know and the words that I am willing to say out loud, yes, but I don't. I will say my singing car song is oh my gosh, I've sung it like a billion times. Hold on one second. It's a Brad Paisley song.
Dust on the mud on the tires.
Nope.
Is that what it's called? I don't even know.
You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive.
Oh.
That
would not be the song that I would pick out for you as your favorite singing car song.
Yeah, just listen to the song once. I belt that song out. I love that song. I
have a whole playlist that's called Schmaltz, and those are all the songs that I like to sing in the car. And I sing them.
Yeah. We all have our private, personal, mobile karaoke list.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It's good I find that when I can sing like that, it makes me feel better. It's one of those things, you got to find that stuff in your day that makes you feel good. For some reason, singing like that makes me feel good, although I don't do it well. And I try to do it when I'm not bothering anybody else.
Totally Midwestern. I'm sorry my singing was bothering you.
Yeah, I know. So what's coming up on Civic Media later today? What are you and Jane going to talk about?
Oh my gosh, we got so much going on. There is so much going on today. It's a packed day on the network itself, but we have, let's see here. What do we got going on? Today is, let's see. Todd Alba is going to be on the show at 10:30, though. Very wonderful, very excellent. If you're ever talking to Todd, just tell him he's great and watch him start blushing. He can't take a compliment. He'll be on from 10:30 to 11. We always have a Civic Media guest on Tuesday at 10:30. He'll be talking about the news of the week so far. And then at 11 o'clock, we're going to have Matt King, who's from the Hunger Task Force, talking about their mobile market, which allows a mobile grocery store to go to food deserts around the area. And then, of course, rounding out the show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing at 11:50. So you want to tune in for that. We're on from 10 a.m. to noon.
I love This Shouldn't Be a Thing because it makes me think about things that shouldn't happen and go, what?
Well, and that's the funny thing too. We get, that one is always for us going to be lighter, fun, nice. We want you to leave the show with a smile, but people will send us ones and be like, this is they'll be like something that some politician's doing or some horrible weather thing. We're like, we don't want to bum people up at the end of the show.
That's what the beginning of the show is about.
Exactly. Want to bump people out at the beginning of the show.
I mean, there's a lot going on in the world that we have to
Yeah.
talk about, but we
Absolutely.
do need some lightness. And
What
I
is
think
coming up tomorrow for you?
well, we are going to focus on small business. We've got Mark Becker from Rational Revolution. He's going to be my co-host. And then Michelle Tressler, who is the
Nice.
co-founder of Hinterland. She's also a board member with Main Street Alliance. She's going to talk about like a 10,000-foot view of what's happening with small businesses here in Wisconsin. And then Andrea Fanta, who is the Mommy AF founder. She has
Yep.
taken this support group and she has turned it into a brick and mortar place where she's inviting people to come in, and it's a space where they can sell their things and build their community in a very almost like a micro business kind of way.
Nice.
So really looking forward to those conversations tomorrow. And of course, music, and of course,
Yeah.
history, all the usual
History.
stuff.
And us, Bach and the Doc.
Bach and the Doc. Wait, I don't think we have another Doc tomorrow, though, for the first time this week.
Then it's just Bach and the Doc, not Bach and the Docs.
Yeah, that's less competition for me.
There's only one Doc in my heart. Well, actually, that's not true. I got a couple, but that's fine. You're fantastic. You're definitely top 7. Definitely top 7.
Could I be at least your favorite gynecologist?
Yes, done. Well, oh gosh, Dr. Low. Dr.
What about
Hanks?
Hanks? I know. You have a lot of gynecologists in your life. Do you think that that's unusual?
And trust me, you've taught me so much, and I mean that for real. The things that I've learned about things, I have nothing but gratitude for the things that you and Dr. Hanks have told us told me and us over the years. Really informative, helped inform my opinions on things, not just making me, it's easy to have like I believe in abortion access, but why do you? And then the reasons why is, you helped deepen those strengths and those beliefs.
Well, abortion is such a small part of what we do and what we talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's so much more, which
yeah,
is why public service announcement with Dr. Laura Hanks is such a blast to listen to.
It's great. We love that. We can't wait to have her back. She's wonderful. We miss her face dearly, and I believe you're coming on the show next week as well. Am I correct or no?
Sure.
Maybe I'm wrong. Actually, it is going to be a public service announcement with Dr. Hanks. We're so excited. Okay, it's an embarrassment. Let's get out of here.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Thanks to Andy Weiland and Colleen Nowak. Greg, thanks for being amazing. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for being awesome.
Yeah, we'll see y'all again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Focus on small business. But until then, get out there and do some good.
And we're out. Okay, so going forward, I hope no one can hear this, because during that last break, and I guess in the last minute, they could hear us talking over the radio, which shouldn't be a thing. Oh. Yeah. So from now on, I think I'm just going to keep you quiet between breaks. You can talk to each other on the live stream if you have a guest, but you just I won't be able to hear it because it'll go out to the radio. So I don't know. So I'm going to stop that right now because I don't know if people can hear us at this moment. Okay. Other than that, I'm going to get out of here. Send me whatever you got, and I will talk to you very soon. You're wonderful.
You're wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.